Hi, y'all. Thank you so much. We are now here at Ponfeigh Distillery. I am here with Max. So, Max, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
This is, we love to do these type of things and, help people understand what we're going to talk about, the resurgence of Monongahela Rye.
Yes.
Growing up in Somerset County, I always heard about whiskey production and how much heritage we had. This is where the Whiskey Rebellion started. And as I grew older and grew up at the Ponfeigh hunting cabin and learned about whiskey culture, I started to travel all over the country and visiting different distilleries. And as I visited these distilleries, these master distillers and brand representatives were pointing to me about and telling me about my heritage. And I was like, well, I knew we had a little bit of heritage. And I started digging into it, and I learned that we're basically the birthplace of rye whiskey, and because of the Scots and the Irishmen and the Germans that settled here, when they cleared the land, our soils are very thin, very rocky. The only thing that really grew here was rye.
Yeah.
Learning about this heritage and how those farm distillers grew into major industry up until Prohibition sort of put the nail in the coffin. We had 16 different distilleries in Somerset County. So our mission and my mission, developing this brand and developing what we are is as a Monongahela Rye, is to bring that history back on the forefront. We do tours, every weekend. Even people from Somerset County don't understand the heritage that we lost.
Yeah. So you said there were 16
major distilleries, yes.
And how many are there? How many are here now?
There are actually only 2.
Okay.
There is a moonshine distillery down the road in Tall Pines. They actually do a bourbon as well. And then we are the rye distillery in Somerset County too.
Yeah.
And we hope there's more, because rising tide floats all boats.
Absolutely. I have been saying that all day long today, actually. So I love that saying. I think it's also important to just understand the connection that you guys have to the history of this region. Like, you talked about it a little bit,
right?
But obviously that's what I am diving into very fully.
Right.
So you were going through your connection with that history, and what does that mean to you? Like, how inspired by that were you whenever you came in and started deciding what the production methods were going to be and decided how the aging process was going to be?
Yeah, very good question. I was inspired by it, not only digging into it and learning how much history we had, not even in all my relatives being a part of it. Actually, Mr. Robert Filson, one of the 2 people that were arrested during the Whiskey Rebellion, was my great-great-grand uncle. Just so much connections, and how many distilleries were literally like 3 around my home place in Berlin, Pennsylvania, and that's where the Whiskey Rebellion happened. So researching all of that, researching how they grew their spirits and why they grew their spirits, and basically, originally whiskey production was for bartering.
Right.
It was their money. That's what they used to purchase goods and sometimes services. After each growing season, and those farm distillers grew into a major industry because basically the trade embargo after the Revolutionary War stopped all the rum distilling up and down the East Coast, and rye filled that void in, and it became very patriotic to drink rye because it wasn't the colonizer's spirit as rum was. And as you can see, the rich red color and the flavor profile, matches those tastes very well for the rum drinker back in that day. So we pay particularly attention that we grow all our grain locally. And we pay particular attention on our toasting and our char of our barrels and where those barrels come from. Those barrels, all that oak comes from Pennsylvania. We work with the West Virginia Barrel Company, or the Great West Virginia Barrel Company. I always get that confused. And they use Pennsylvania oak for us. Even our bottles are manufactured in Pittsburgh. So it's a pure Pennsylvania product that we're very proud of. And because of the terroir, because where it's grown in these very poor soils, I should talk about that. You know,
Yeah.
if you've tasted our rye, it's very maple and honey forward.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
this is
the
like
baking
so
spice
approachable.
is
Yes.
it's you know, every time I hear somebody that says I don't like ryes, I'm like, I got you, because I know they're a bourbon freak, and I know they've been you know, approached by many different ryes that are super baking spice and overly spicy,
Yeah.
maybe even a little burnt on the front end. And because of where we grow our rye, and because we don't fertilize it, and we don't pound it with a bunch of, you know, petrochemicals, it grows naturally, and that stressed grain makes a sweeter fruit. Just like grapes in an arid region, or apples during a drought, they're much sweeter. All that energy is devoted to the fruit. It's the same thing here, and you can taste it right off the still. You know, like, we nailed it. Like, you know, and it's such a different. If we were to source our rye anywhere else in the country, we would not have this flavor profile, and that we truly believe brings us back to how it was made back then. Is it the same varieties? No, but what I personally believe that it's the terroir that's more important than the actual variety.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more. So what grain is used in like what quantities?
It's just so that our cast strength rye and our 90 proof is 95% rye, 5% malted barley.
Okay.
Our malted barley, that 5%, is actually not from Pennsylvania. But you know, as 5%, it doesn't really give that much flavor profile.
Right.
It's more for the enzymes.
And that's not because you're not using a local company. That's because it only grows in certain areas, correct?
Well, no, we can grow the barley in this area. It's just the malting process.
Gotcha.
Is mostly out west or overseas. And we have a very, very small malter in our area. We hope to use him one day, but because of our volumes, it's not very cost efficient. If you're just doing small, we're the largest distillery in Pennsylvania. We can make 4,500 barrels. There's, you know, we have a 15-inch column, you know, so we have to focus on costs.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the distillery and the brand, and tell me how this, like, when did this start? How did this, like, grow into? This is massive. Like you just said, this is the largest distillery in Pennsylvania. That's a huge claim. So, like, how did it get there? Like, walk me through that process.
Well, I like to tell people that I've been researching this for 25 years. I finished my business plan 16 years ago. I quit my job in DC 6 years ago, and we started construction 4 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And so that it's been a huge evolution, and it's always been on my mind, and I've always tweaked it a little bit here and there. Like I said, I've been researching it for over 25 years, learning the trade, learning marketing, learning the trends. And then, you know, like I said, I went to many different distilleries and got a bunch of mentors all across the country that encouraged me to do it. Sometimes I call them and yell at them a little bit. But no.
Why did you talk me into this?
Yeah, it's like, I knew it was going to be hard, but
I understand that.
right, yes, absolutely.
It's a labor of love.
But you know, but growing up at the Ponfeigh cabin, and I personally live on the Ponfeigh farms, it was very organically grew into our brand because of the rich whiskey culture in this area and the rich whiskey culture at the Ponfeigh hunting cabin, which is basically a family and friend place that basically all of the fall there's people coming from all over the country sharing spirits, and those traditions are now part of that brand.
And so what exactly is Ponfeigh? Like, what does that mean? Where did that word come from?
Great question. So every time I talk about it, it just gets me goosebumps.
Okay.
I get emotional. When my great-great-grandfather and great-grandfather were starting a dairy farm, they were entrepreneurs. They were actually bringing a barn from the Quemehoming Dam that we currently get our water from. And as they were carrying that dairy barn on different wagons over the hill, they had a Scottish immigrant with them helping them with that project. And when he came into that fertile valley, he screamed Ponfeigh. I'll spare you the scream.
I mean, we can.
And for 80 years, you know, my family thought it meant wonderful, beautiful, amazing. So they named their farm Ponfeigh. They named their hunting cabin Ponfeigh Hunting Cabin. They named a coal mine Ponfeigh. They named a theater and electrical company Ponfeigh. They named everything Ponfeigh.
Everything was Ponfeigh.
Everything was Ponfeigh.
Yeah.
And it was just like their good luck term. Well, you know, 80 years later, the internet comes out.
Right. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, oh Lord, here's dramatic pause.
Right.
And we realized that Mr. McDowell was from Ponfeigh, Scotland. And when he came into that fertile valley, it reminded him of his home place. And that's why he was so elated, you know. So it's fun for us that it means something. And fortunately, it doesn't mean something like, you know, men with little skirts or something like that. In Scottish, it means stag's watering place. So aptly named Ponfeigh Hunting Cabin, Ponfeigh Farm, where my friends are hunting as we speak down there. You know, it was a family name that fortunately didn't mean something
crazy,
naughty or crazy, right? Stag's watering place. I think there's many brands named Stag's Watering. I mean, I think that's what Glenfiddich means, Stag's Watering or Pole or something like that. There's many brands that, because, you know, stags were a big thing in ancient times.
Well, what I love is that your family took that thinking that it meant wonderful and beautiful, you know, but it ended up meaning home. Yeah. And that's exactly what you all were doing, is like naming all of these things after something that very much reminded you of like who your family was. I love that. I think that's a beautiful story.
It is.
So tell me a little bit about your production style. I just realized that you have the exclamation point after Ponfeigh. So I'm just like, I love that now. Now every time I say it, I'm gonna have to scream it.
Yes, our friend Fred Minnick screamed it when he did a review once, and that was pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about your production style. So how do you all like actually go through, like, what's the distillation process, and then like walk me, we don't have to touch everything, but anything that's
Brendan
really
is good. You're going to
all.
walk through the distillery with Brendan, our master distiller and production manager, and he'll touch base on this too. But what we're mostly focused on is sourcing our grains locally, so we know it's that terroir is going to make that rich maple honey flavor. We pay particular attention to our barrel selection, so we do a heavy toast, very light char. Yeah. And it, you know, the West Virginia Barrel Company does a great toasting job. I think second to none. Yeah. Just because of the way their manufacturing process is. I've been down there many times. The cellulosic sugar that comes from that barrel, I think there's no other barrel that does that aging process. And as you can taste, the proof is in the pudding there. And then the third thing is, because we have a column still, we can make our cuts very, very clean. Right. Our cuts coming off that still, very little heads and in very little tails, and we make sure that there's nothing offensive to the nose when it goes in that barrel. Yeah. And then, as the definition soon will be for Monongahela Rye, we always put our proof into the barrel is always 110. You know, research and mythology and actual, you know, tradition. Tradition, and also just the putting in at 100 a low proof, and low is 110. We stick to 110. I believe that makes a better whiskey as well.
I agree. Yeah, I love that.
Everything is rye centric here, because people always ask me, "Are you going to make a bourbon?" And I say, first of all, don't say that swear word in Pennsylvania. I get really upset with people, especially when I'm doing tours. I'm like, you're in rye country, buddy. Like, don't say the B word. It's illegal. And so we try to make everything rye forward here.
Yeah. So where do you see not just Ponfeigh, but also this industry over the next few years? Like, I feel like that resurgence has really started taking hold, and you all are, as the largest distillery in Pennsylvania, I think leading the charge in that. So where do you see that going?
Well, as you know, rye takes about 4 to 5% of the whiskey/bourbon market share every year. Yeah. So more people are enjoying rye. People are making, you know, kudos to MGP. They kept rye alive. Yeah. But now with the craft distillers, we can make, you know, a lot more different ryes. And I actually think we're the top 2 ryes in the nation right now. Yeah. I mean, we were just ranked top 100 whiskeys in the United States, and the only rye that beat us was a Sazerac 19. So as
Wow.
a 5-year-old rye,
That's
being
pretty darn
second
good.
rye on the list,
Yeah.
that's a pretty damn good
Yeah.
badge of honor, and we hope to beat them someday. I just think as people are experimenting with all these different varieties, and they're making their cuts better, and they're learning the craft better, rye is definitely gaining market share. I know there's a lot of people, poo-pooing the industry as in, there's a downturn. We're not experiencing that downturn.
Yeah.
But that's the blessing and the curse of being a craft and being a new product. People are discovering us, so we're still, we're still rising in our sales because we started from nothing. We literally did not even have this tasting room last year.
Which is stunning, by the way.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
I love
It
this.
came out well. But we literally, Brendan and I, we had a lemonade stand in the production, and we just had hours, and people would just come in and we do a little tour, and then they would buy cases right off the floor. So now we're here. We have a full tasting room. Next year we're getting a full kitchen.
Okay.
That'll be nice. It'll be basically a kitchen / food truck that'll be here permanently.
Heck yeah.
So we're, and we're in an area that's very tourism based. The community is supporting us more and more. And, we're bringing, like I said, bringing that heritage and that history back to Somerset County where it belongs.
Okay. So how can people come here? How can people find you all? You have social media?
We have it all.
Everything.
So we don't have TikTok, but we do have the Instagram and the Facebook and the web page. We're right off the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and we're in lots of different Pennsylvania tourism magazines as well. But just PonfeighDistillery.com, whether that's, and then Ponfeigh on Instagram and Ponfeigh Distillery on Facebook. We post all of our events, our music, our couples events, our bands, the different food trucks. I mean, you name it, we have events.
Want to explore bourbon in a new way? The Parlor Room is an intimate tasting experience in the heart of downtown Bardstown. Here, it isn't just about what's in the glass, it's about the story behind it. From rare pours to thoughtfully curated classes, every seat is designed to take you deeper into bourbon. Book your experience at parlorroomtastings.com.
Guys, we are officially in the distillery now, and I am here with Brendan. So Brendan, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
I'm Brendan. I'm the master distiller here at Ponfeigh. I came in from the very beginning and helped set all this up, build everything, and put all these pipes together and all that. So this is my baby here.
Are we gonna drink something off of the still?
Yeah. When we distill rye, we want it to have body, sweetness, graininess right off the still.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little taste of what I mean by that.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So you can taste the grain, right?
That's insane.
And it's sweet already. It's got a nice honey sweetness, a little spice, definitely some body to it.
That's wild because and I think, in Kentucky, I'm very used to the corn being the predominant flavor whenever I'm going through different distilleries and trying that. And so it's so nice to have that beautiful rye profile that just comes through, like so clean. Wow, it's like a flavor bomb.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. I will admit, when I first came to run this, I'd only ever run pot stills before.
Yeah.
And in the pot still community, column stills are kind of seen as the devil.
Yeah.
They can never make as good of a whiskey.
Right.
But when I started playing with this thing and figuring out how to run it and figuring out how to get those flavors out of it, there are so many different things that you can do to get different flavors through. And I love it. You can make some really good stuff, obviously.
Clearly,
off this stuff, yeah.
I love this. This is awesome. So when did you guys officially install this? Tell me a little bit more about the still itself.
So this was made by Specific Mechanical out in Vancouver. We installed this in mid-2023, started running it by the end of that year, and this was the first still of this type that company had ever made. So
Because they were used to making pot stills, or because they weren't used to doing whiskey?
They'd not done a continuous beer column before.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd only done pots before
Yeah.
that. So having their whole engineering team here and us figuring out every tiny little thing that could have gone wrong,
Yeah.
did.
If it can
of
go
course.
wrong, then it will.
So it was interesting. There, getting
Yeah.
it running. There was definitely some hurdles to get through, but we figured her out.
Okay, awesome. I love that. You want to talk about this little guy over here?
This is the doubler.
Yes.
So this still, almost this whole thing is just to strip the alcohol out of the beer. The vapors go out the top. They're condensed in a set of 3 condensers up there. And then that vapor that gets condensed back down into a liquid then comes down into the doubler. So this gives it one last distillation, at which point it's around 135 proof. That's usually around where we're finding the right flavors.
Okay.
So we're going into the column about 4 gallons per minute of our 10 to 12% ABV beer. And then we're coming off of the column at around 0.4 gallons a minute of around 135 proof spirit. And so we'll go through a 10-hour day per mash and make about 250 gallons of spirit.
And then you guys, what water do you use to dilute that down before it goes into the barrel?
We've got a reverse osmosis machine, just a
Okay.
very pure water.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I've toyed around a little bit with. There's a distillery called Fran's Distillery. It was one of those 16
Yeah.
that used to be run in Somerset, and some of the remains from the distillery are still. You can still walk through the old rick house, which is cool, but a little bit scary because it's kind of dilapidated. But there's an active spring there.
Okay.
And so I've gone and collected some spring water and experimented with diluting down with that, which is, even if it doesn't really do anything, it'd be cool. So
Yeah, absolutely.
We're playing with it.
And I mean, you don't need that much.
Yeah. No, we could do it. It's possible.
That'd be really cool. Well,
Yeah.
can we post it on that?
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to go walk over and check out the barrels?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so this looks like your playground.
Yeah. This is the experimentation station. This is where all the blends that we do, all the new products that I'm making, it all gets done right here.
Yeah. So tell me what your process is. Like, how do you approach this? Like, if you were just coming in one day, what would you start with? Where would you start tasting? Would you start what?
Most of what we do here is testing different blends of the whiskey. Our 90 proof and our barrel strength. The barrel strength, we do single barrel for everything so far. So we'll try a few barrels, pick a few that have the notes that we're looking for. Our cask strength, when we find a barrel it's got perfectly balanced. It's got the oak, it's got the spice, it's got the sweetness.
Yeah.
Well, you can never really trust your palate day to day.
No, I agree.
I'm not a perfect blender. Some people have that art down. I'm not that person. So we try not to trust ourselves too much, and we'll try everything a few times before we put one out. But
Roll.
so you want to go like perpendicular to the grain
Okay.
in the bung. Have you
Okay.
done this before?
No, and I'm
I don't
stoked about
wanna-
it.
I don't want to speak down to you.
You're not.
So yeah, you can see the grain on the bung is kind of
Yep.
going that way, perpendicular to the grain. Pound it in.
Okay.
Get like, and yeah,
You said
get
get in there. Get all the way in there.
Yeah, a half an inch, and then just give it a little pry, and
Half
then
an
go to
inch?
the opposite side and do the same thing.
What angle am I doing here? Like 45,
Like
90?
flat
against the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going anywhere. Is it?
Well, hit hard. Yeah. Now give it a.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay. And then what am I?
Then on the opposite side, same
Okay.
thing.
And I'm going flat against the thing again.
Yep.
Here, try me places. I'm right-handed. Oh, I felt it that time. Yeah.
All right.
I was like, I feel it moving.
And you know how to throw a thief
I know how to
in.
thieve. Yeah, that's the part I do know. I don't know how to pull the bung out. They never let me do that part. This is a cute one. How much liquid's in here? Any idea?
It's probably about 40 gallons.
Do you want to grab a cup? Wait, how much do we? I have 3 kids. So I'm pretty good at the straw game.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we drinking? So tell me more about
So this
barrel.
guy is from 2020. Yeah, October 2020, so just over 5 years old. It'll be around 120 to 122 proof,
Okay.
probably. And yeah, it's the...
Yeah, that's what?
Oh, it's got a nice spice on it.
That's insane. That as it settles, it changes direction
Yeah.
of it's like, oh, we're gonna be, nope, I'm just kidding. We're gonna go this way
Yeah.
with the flavor.
Yeah.
Bespoke and Bond is a refined venue space in the heart of downtown Bardstown. From intimate gatherings to elevated events, this is where your story starts. If you're planning your next experience, visit bespokeandbond.com for more. All right, y'all. So we are here at Wigle Whiskey. Tell me a little bit more about the brand itself.
So right now we are in the heart of the Strip District. It's historically one of the older neighborhoods that has lots of shopping, Italian grocery stores, a produce terminal that has recently been revitalized.
And some great coffee that you
Some
got me
great
earlier.
coffee, some great restaurants, really, I would say, blossoming neighborhood.
Yeah.
Lots of new apartments and condos. Like we're really lucky to be in this neighborhood with a lot of foot traffic and new residents.
Awesome. And Elise, what exactly, introduce yourself. What's your role here? Where did you come from?
I am the director of marketing. I started 10 years ago with a tasting room as a grad student. The former owners, they actually were professors in my graduate school program. They hired me part-time while I was in their whiskey development, new product development class. And then they hired me full-time when I graduated. I've not had every job. Like I said, I've been working in the tasting room. I've been an event manager. Worked my way up to where I am now.
Yeah, and 10 years is a long time, so you clearly love it here.
I do.
Yeah. All right, Alex, how about you? What's your role here, and where did you come from?
So I am the production manager, and I haven't been with the company nearly as long as Elise, but I've been here for 3 years. I was already a distiller in Virginia, and I was looking to grow into a bit of a larger market with whiskey and grow my skill set. And so it just felt like the perfect opportunity to come up here, continue to learn, continue to hone that craft. And so I started as just an apprentice distiller and worked my way up to production manager. I also do all of the blending and oversee our barrel program, as well as all of the distillation that happens within the space here.
So it sounds like you also love the company.
Yeah.
So this is a good vibe. So you guys feel like a very small team that is very passionate about what you do. So tell me a little bit more about that. Like what makes you passionate about this brand? What's the story behind the Wigle name? How did that come about? And how did the team really develop and grow together the way that you guys did?
Pittsburgh is, we like to say, kind of the birthplace of American whiskey, starting back with our namesake, Philip Wigle. We say Wiggle in the great tradition of Pittsburgh mispronunciations, and it's a little more fun. The story actually starts with Alexander Hamilton. He actually levied the first excise tax in American history on whiskey production, and that exponentially, disproportionately, I should say, affected people in Western Pennsylvania, whose by and large their industry was distillation. It was a way to preserve grain. They used it as currency to barter. It was safer to drink than the water in some cases. The people of Western Pennsylvania were furious about this tax, and Philip Wigle actually punched a tax collector and sparked the Whiskey Rebellion. So we kind of have this rebellious spirit, I would say, of Philip Wiggle, like we say. It's a little bit more fun, and there's a history of mispronunciations in Pittsburgh, so we are Wiggle. We get that question a lot, actually, if it's Wiggle or Weigel.
Yeah, it's just the Pittsburgh pronunciation
Pittsburgh
instead of the German pronunciation of Weigel.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, we really celebrate this history of whiskey in Western Pennsylvania, and yeah, we are, at our core, we celebrate that history.
Awesome. So how does that translate to the team? Do you all still feel like any type of connection to that past of the heritage that you all have in this region, the city? You know, how does that translate to modern times? What made you guys bring that brand back to highlight, Wiggle?
Going back to that rebellious spirit, we really like to pull inspiration from the past, including our roots as a very industrial city in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's known for the steel industry, and we really try to bring that heritage into everything we do.
Tell me about the processes, anything that's really unique to Wiggle. What should people know about the way you make your whiskey?
Yeah, so it really all starts with support of local agriculture. It starts with the grain. We are a true grain glass distillery. So I have a really robust network of farmers who will work with me to supply exactly the grain I need and the specifications that I desire. And so truly it's something where we're supporting that agriculture. We're transforming that into something great that has this rich history associated to it, like rye whiskey. And so we really want to be great representations and stewards of their craft, through our craft. We're keeping that tradition of rye whiskey in Western Pennsylvania alive.
We're stewards of rye whiskey.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've talked a lot to, the Bradford House and the Whiskey Rebellion about the 18th century and the way that settlers really navigated to this area. One of the big things they always talked about was the way that grain was very unique here, right? It was a little bit more difficult to grow corn. You had a lot more rye options, and that was something that the settlers were used to. So I love talking about the grain with you all. I think that's something that is truly what makes a whiskey shine. And so when we were walking through, back in production, I could tell that was something that you were really passionate about. And I think that's also something that brings the community to your side, right? Because in that regard, you're able to support that industry, those farmers. So tell me a little bit more about the way that you've seen that industry, that agricultural industry around what you all are doing, expand and grow through the years that you guys have started working with them.
Yeah, we started working with one farmer who introduced us to several, and so we're able to really support a lot of other businesses. These are all family-owned farms, and we've watched it, especially with some of our more local people, like our maltster, for example. He's looking to break into the distilling and work with more distilleries. So through adding us to his portfolio and working with us, he's able to then expand to that and go to other distilleries and say, hey, I'm working with them, and grow in a truly organic way. And of course, I have nothing but great things to say about him. So, should I ever be somewhere talking to somebody else, I'm sure to mention, hey, this is who we work with, and they're great. And so, it feels like a very organic, sort of genuine scalability in that sense.
Yeah, because you're growing at the same time they're growing,
Exactly.
and you're both benefiting each other. The more they expand their operations, the more you're able to expand yours, and vice versa, right? So
Exactly.
it's not only benefiting, Wiggle and the whiskey industry, but it's also really benefiting the community of farmers that you all have here. I love that. I think that's such an important thing to highlight. So playing with the grain is really fun. We talked a little bit about that as well. There's one that really stood out to me that was a very high barley percentage. So let's talk about that. Like, you get to play a lot with the grain that you're using. So what are some of your favorite ones that you've had the opportunity to do, and what are some things that you might want to do in the future?
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit biased, but like the single malt whiskey that we've been putting into barrels for almost 2 years now is a recipe that I developed with our maltster, and finding that perfect ratio of certain dark malts to other types of malts. So that one, I'm obviously really excited to see how that matures. And then aside from that, we are working to continue to create different mash bills with more unique ways, using different types of corn. Last year we used blue corn. We have a type of corn called Wapsie Valley corn that is a tricolored, predominantly red corn that's an heirloom grain that we use. And so it's really cool to tweak different variables and see how that impacts the new make, and then how that obviously continues to age as well. But really excited to continue to just see what's out there, and not necessarily follow trends per se, but to see how other people use these grains successfully, and how that might translate to what I'm trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I love that. And Elise, you get to have a little bit of fun too, right? Because whenever he's making all of these different expressions and playing with all this different grain, then it has to go to the retail side.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that, about like the way that you guys design the bottle and the labels, and kind of what stands out for you all and what you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bottles you see here are a Wigle Reserve line that we launched almost 2 years ago now. We felt that our top shelf whiskey should be in top shelf packaging. We have in the past even gone as far as doing some customer feedback, finding out what they thought was important on the bottle, what we felt was important in the bottle, and yeah, matching the juice to the packaging is really important to us. So another example, we're redoing some of our flavored whiskeys to have the package reflect how good the whiskey is. However, it's a little bit more fun and a little bit more, I guess you could say, whimsical, but still staying true to our brand, which at its core celebrates spirits, celebrates the whiskey.
Yeah, and you guys have fun outside of just like your beautiful classic bottles, right? I saw some of the other bottles that you guys have on the shelf, so you definitely take the job seriously.
We have about 40 different bottles at any given time, which is crazy. And we're not just whiskey. This is a whiskey podcast, so I'm going to talk about the whiskey, but we have award-winning gin. We have limoncello that we hand peel the lemons. Like, we really literally put our blood, sweat, and tears into everything that we do. Like, I'm very passionate about the packaging.
I love that. So what are you both, and you can answer this separately or together if it's the same thing, but I doubt it. What are you all most excited about over the next, like, the few years that you have coming up, right? Is there some big project that you're working on that you're really excited about but maybe can't talk about yet? Or is there something that you are just excited to potentially pursue as operations expand and your name gets out there more?
So we're working hard to expand our ready-to-serve whiskey cocktail line. While I personally love drinking a glass of neat whiskey, we hear all the time that people want to partake in a cocktail, but they maybe feel a little bit intimidated by mixing it up themselves. So we are working on expanding from our old-fashioned line of ready-to-serve cocktails into some other more fun flavors. So we have rye and bourbon old-fashions that are literally ready to pour over ice. If you are feeling really fancy, add an orange peel. And even this fall, we have an apple old-fashioned made with apple brandy, and yeah, we're exploring some really cool flavors for this next year to just kind of give people what they've been asking us for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
For me, it's continuing to build on this year's success of different barrel expressions. So we tasted the sherry mezcal rye, so 2 different finishing barrels. So I really want to continue to push the envelope in regards to like what flavors we can accomplish through different barrel finishes. And you know, it's a really, really cool time that all of those barrels are pretty readily available at full time in the market. And so we really have an opportunity to be pretty selective and sort of navigate that profile as best we can outside of the barrel, just through our selection and maturation process. We've got quite a few experimental things in barrels that maybe, you know, aren't ready to come to market as they are, but through a little bit of guidance, you know, we hope that will make their way to the bottle in the next couple of years.
Awesome. I love that. All right, so we're going to wrap up a little bit. So I always ask this to people that I interview, and then whenever we go through the conversation, what, in my opinion, I think bourbon and whiskey and spirits in general are really closely tied to your experiences and your memory, right? So I always ask, and each of you, again, can answer separately. Alex, I'll let you go first because Elise took the last one, so no pressure. Yeah. What is your favorite memory through your career and in relation to the spirit industry? Favorite story, can be funny, can be, you know, emotional, heartfelt, anything that you, I know, no pressure, I told you.
I agree, like with it being tied to memory, that I've been really fortunate to enjoy great whiskey with several people. But I think to me, it's about being able to share something that I created with people. And there just feels like an added layer of interest or an added layer of just importance when, you know, it's not like, hey, this is my favorite bottle that I pulled off the shelf or whatever. This is my favorite bottle that I made a lot of the decisions for. I guided this, and now it's in this finished package, and I want to share that with you. And then having people provide, you know, with their honest feedback with that. But there just is something. There's another layer to it. It's just that much more special when it's something that I created and you know, just from a thought, formed that all the way into a bottle. I think that's I'm really fortunate to be in a position where I can do that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and, you know, the world. Elise, how about you?
Okay, so I have kind of a more quirky story, I think, than Alex did.
That's okay.
So when I first started working here in the original tasting room that didn't even have walls that went to the ceiling, and if it was hot in the production space, it was hot in the tasting room.
Yeah.
And in the summer, we would take, let's see, I'm trying to see if we have it here. It was cask strength, but it used to be called deep cut. And we would have these chocolates from a company that we would serve on our tours, but it was so hot they would be melting. And we would, for our shift drink, mix a pour of deep cut rye with chocolate truffles, and like sharing that with like the people who you're almost like trauma heat bonded with, I want to say, as your shift drink. And actually 2 of those people still work here.
Okay.
And so I think that was it's a very specific core memory that we would always do that as our shift drink when it was that hot, and it was like an extra special treat.
I love
makes
that.
me smile just thinking about it.
That's fantastic. All right, any final notes that you guys want to say before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think it's awesome that you're coming up here from Kentucky, which, you know, huge whiskey area.
Cheers.
And just being able to share your passion and mix that with our passion here in Western Pennsylvania with us and the other distillers, because I think that's really appreciate what you're doing to put a spotlight on what we're doing out here.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I think whiskey is whiskey, and especially when it's American whiskey, it's something that I want to learn about and I want to explore. I love the history and the heritage that you all have in this region, and the way that so many people, as I've traveled through from distilleries to distillery and museum to museum, you just get that spark of emotion, right? There's such a rebellious streak here that I just love that you guys highlight. And I mentioned this to Elise earlier, all of the Alexander Hamilton stuff. It's so true, like how intensely like hated he is still to this day because of all the hardships that he caused this community. So no, I think for me it's been, I'm definitely the lucky one here. I'm happy to shine a spotlight on such an amazing history and industry and the way that you all are bringing this back. I think the rising tide raises all ships. So for me, it's not bourbon versus rye. It's whiskey. Let's drink it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, well, just I'm so happy to share a little bit of Pittsburgh with you.
Yeah.
And please come back and visit us.
I plan to a lot.
We'll come visit you too.
Deal. Yes, please. All right, well, cheers.
Cheers.